All right, this is Andy Conkler back again. We had another question about Genesis 3 and 19. Somebody asked the question, what does this mean, in reference to our answering the question about cremation earlier. Genesis 3 and 19 reads, "In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return unto the ground. For out of it were you taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return." All right, let's address first who God was talking to here and why he was saying this. He was talking to Adam here and all of us, because we fall into the same category as Adam. And this is after the fall, because before the fall, it says in Genesis 2 and 7 through 9, it says, "And the Lord God formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and he became a living soul." God took great care. He didn't speak man into existence like he did the world and the water and all the other things and the plants, but he formed man, and he formed him out of the dust. Also, he formed the animals out of the dust, which is why we share so many characteristics like with the animals, except for the fact of a living soul. But that's why he said, "From dust you came, and dust you shall return." But the curse he was telling him there is, you will eat bread by the sweat of your brow. Because in the original garden, God says right here, "And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant for the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." And God declared they could eat of everything of the garden except of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when Eve first ate of the apple, then offered it to Adam, he didn't refuse it. He just grabbed it up and ate it too. Then sin came in, and then death came in. Adam and Eve were never created to die, but because of sin, they did die. And God told them if they ate of the tree, they would surely die. And that's why he would then return to the dust from whence he came. And the fact that he has to grow his food, because see, his food was provided for him, and all he had to do was be a tender of the garden. He was just a pruner of plants and trees that God had already put there that were full of good things to eat. He didn't have to plant and toil the ground at all. But now God told him that the ground was just going to bring forth thorns and thistles to him, and he would only be able to eat by the breaking work of his back and the sweat of his brow. And if he didn't work, then he wouldn't eat. That's part of the curse in the fall. That's what God was doing right there, was explaining to Adam how he would have to then provide for himself. And it's no different. We're under the same category today. One more thing I'll address on that, then we'll be done. A lot of people say, well, I wasn't there in the garden. I didn't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But Romans plainly tells us we have all sinned and fell short of the glory of God. None of us can say we've never not committed sin in our life, knowingly or unknowingly. We all know we have, so we are all guilty of the fall in the same way Adam was, and that's why it still applies to us today. That's why when we die, unless God raptures us first and he comes back, we will return to the dust of the ground. All right, thank you very much.